Has your child seen a chiropractor, but the results fell short of your expectations? You're not alone out there. Many parents have felt disappointed, whether it's due to a lack of confidence or clarity from the chiropractor, or weak or inconsistent care plan recommendations, possibly confusion over a long list of additional therapies added into the mix, like laser treatments or primitive reflex work. If that sounds all too familiar, watch this entire video to learn the key difference between standard chiropractic care, integrated or functional therapies, and a truly specialized, neurologically focused pediatric chiropractic care. The truth is that not all chiropractors are equipped to help children, especially those with complex neurological challenges like sensory processing issues, ADHD, seizures, or chronic health conditions in general. You have to understand that chiropractic is no different than dentistry in the fact that the license in chiropractic allows all chiropractors to work with kids. But a very few chiropractors are equipped and trained to work with kids with severe neurological challenges. Now, these are key components that we're going to talk about today to determine whether your child is getting the right care. Now, they may be very simple, but they make all the difference. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to look for so that you can be confident with who you are entrusting your child's health with regards to chiropractic care. I'm going to start with a story about a little boy named Henry. Now, Henry is a young patient, and he and his parents had brought him to a chiropractor in town, very traditional standard chiropractic care. Family was on the billboard right outside the office. And Henry, he struggled with intense sensory processing challenges. This little boy was running full speed into walls for sensory input. He had extremely high reactions to textures on clothing. He struggled with impulse control. Now, his previous chiropractor provided care, and I'm sure he did a wonderful job, but he did so without any neurological focus, and he did not use the proper frequency. So Henry wasn't getting any help with the underlying issues. They just weren't being addressed or resolved. Now, in a different context, Henry, after 1 month of starting care in my practice, had really, we had changed the focus. It was all neurologically focused chiropractic care, and his mom, within a few weeks, actually a month, noticed profound changes that she hadn't seen before. His sensory seeking behaviors became less intense, and he became more manageable, and his overall regulation dramatically improved. So there's a huge opportunity out there if it's applied properly. So we're going to dive into these main talking points on what you will be looking for. Number one, first and foremost, is advanced education and training, which really does make the difference. See, most chiropractors have advanced training in spine care, back pain, neck pain, but very few have a focus in training in kids, or pregnancies, moms, families that require advanced training. There's organizations in the community that do a great job at education, but do a very poor job at practical approaches in office. And one organization is the ICPA. They'll teach you about children. They'll teach you from a textbook, but they don't teach you how to actually apply that care to kids with sensory challenges. And I know this 100% because I spent 2 years developing further education with this organization and found that they taught very little. Unfortunately, that is a fact. So when today's children are facing what we call this perfect storm, this is unfortunately due to a high level of stress and toxicity building up in their lives early on in their bodies. And it causes over 50% of our kids to have chronically sick issues. They're struggling with complex health conditions that we as adults never once saw kids when we were kids having these issues. Now, advanced pediatric training includes a deep understanding of developmental milestones, neurological system function, brain development, the brain-gut connection, neuroinflammation, amongst other things. And this education is a foundation in understanding how to apply care for these kids. Now, experience is also a huge item, meaning that the chiropractor that you take your kid to needs to have a full understanding of how he has helped other kids in this situation. A lot of kids, or a lot of chiropractors practice in their community and have family in their name, but see a very few amount of kids in their practice. And they're really looking for What you're looking for is somebody who does fully focused pediatric and family chiropractic care with high levels of experience taking on the most complex, tough cases, working with kids with sensory processing challenges, ADHD, autism, things with seizures and epilepsy, PANS and PANDAS, like all these special needs. And if you have this high level of clinical experience, then taking on family wellness cases and things like colic and constipation, chronic ear infections, and so forth are something that they do with ease. And that experience is really important. If you're looking at an office that is fully focused on kids, look at the layout, look at the environment, look at the website, the ambiance. Like everything should be kids and pediatrics. And that's a huge thing to look at, because if they have one drop-down menu on their website or their name just happens to outline family, it may not be as focused of a practice for what your child needs. Now, it's 2025, like it's modern era. They need to be using advanced technology in neurological testing. And the standard, the only standard, are the Insight neurological scans. These Insight scans allow us to find where nervous system dysfunction, dysregulation, and subluxation are present with ease and accuracy. These scans are entirely non-invasive. They take about 15 to 20 minutes, but they give us information that provides us with the real root cause of your child's health condition, more than any genetic testing or lab work could actually give you information of. And additionally, we continue to run these incredible Insight scans throughout care to show progress, to make sure that the neurological adaptability is occurring, to make sure their body is healing and their body's restoration is occurring, instead of just looking at symptomatic improvements. When you restore nervous system function and that neurodevelopment of the child is improving, the scans will show those changes. Now, this is where, to show you a scan, give me just one moment. Now, to give you an example of what the Insight scanning technology does, is it gives us a platform to understand how the nervous system's performing. Now, this scan is on a little girl having challenges with her autoimmune system, having OCD-like tendencies, diagnosed with PANDAS, having severe allergies to her skin. Now, a normal HRV, which shows us how the autonomic nervous system's performing, shows that instead of the body being here, her body's down here in a zone 4, shows extremely low autonomic activity, showing that her body is not resilient or adaptive to changes. The goal is to get her up here to show normal autonomic activities. This information is huge because it allows us to then care plan appropriately based on her unique condition. When we look over here at thermography, this helps us to understand where stress and tension resides in the cervical spine, understanding that this dysregulation will contribute to vagus nerve dysfunction, contributing to dysregulation of her digestive system, which secondarily will cause issues with her skin and her adaptability. And this is huge because without the scanning technology, you do not get to see where the stress resides neurologically. And the third scan that we run is a surface EMG, which shows us the energy and tone of the neuromuscular system. Again, all of her stress and tension in that cervical spine, which shows where the dysregulation occurs from an observational stance. Now, this scan will be retaken in increments of 2 to 4 weeks. And the purpose of that reassessment will be to show where the change occurs. See, when you're focused in a neurologically advanced office, these scans are the root tool to actually show the change. This change will show improvements over time, as will those changes symptomatically also occur. The next item is to be trained and well-versed in multiple adjusting techniques. This is huge in a pediatric practice to get repetitive changes in a child. Each child's case is unique, and each case requires a hypersensitive approach, whereas most chiropractors only practice one singular technique, and often they are limited in these really tough and complex cases. I'm going to be the first one to tell you that working with kids who have chronic health issues or sensory challenges, you never know starting out what technique you're going to use. And these children, they change throughout the course of their care. Now, this change requires a different approach, sometimes each and every day, based on if that child is in a dysregulated state or happy and able to lay on the table. So these different techniques address various aspects of the nervous system and aid in restoring that dysfunctional regulation. Now, this means that you cannot have a one-size-fit-all technique. If you're going and looking for chiropractors who offer one single technique in their office, it's a great opportunity for some applications, but for complex kids, it doesn't work. And that's where most of these chiropractic techniques, they have to be then taught on a pediatric basis. Now, having taken many different technique classes, the educational parameters do not include kids with sensory challenges. They don't include kids with pandas or seizures. These are all items that are learned outside of those educational environments, and that's why the pediatric experience model is so helpful. Now, the next item is the care planning. This is one of the most important items. Today's children need more intensive care plans than ever before, meaning that most kids in my practice with chronic issues or sensory challenges, they're being seen more frequent and over a longer period of time than even their parents. Now, frequency and duration must be based on the neurological analysis, which is heavily weighed on the Insight neurological scans. Now, care plans should adapt as your child's progressing, which means that frequency should start highest in the beginning and taper down to lower frequencies over time. There must also be regular reassessments to ensure optimal results, which means that every 30 days there has to be a reassessment. This is then able to give the doctor an opportunity to make sure that there are objective measurements that are showing change. If your chiropractor is not going to reassess on a regular basis or only going to ask you for subjective inquiries on how they're doing, they're not assessing how the nervous system is improving. Now, if your child's already tried chiropractic care and it just didn't work out, do not give up hope. You have to understand that all this clinical details we cover today in this video are really a factor to give you the direction on what chiropractor you can choose. And that means that there's not just one right chiropractor out there. There's a lot of different approaches if you start to investigate. But I'm going to let you know right now, in the area where I practice, there are very few, if any, other chiropractors who are neurologically focused and fully involved with pediatric chiropractic care. It's not an easy avenue. It is not the easiest, simple way to practice. At Maximize Chiropractic, we focus on neurologically focused chiropractic care. We utilize all 5 of these crucial elements to help children thrive. And I invite you to experience the difference with that proper pediatric chiropractic care can make for your child. Take the first step. Visit our website. Click on the link in our bio. Take a look at our testimonials at our YouTube page, at our Facebook or Instagram page. You're going to see that your child deserves the best care by looking at what we have to offer in this unique approach. That first step is to get those scans on your child to see where that dysregulation in their nervous system is occurring. And then from there, looking at what is appropriate to help serve your family in this time of need.